get ready to have your mind exploded, because everything you thought you knew about dinosaurs may be wrong. From films that have created legends to textbooks that have already been updated, science advances and reveals secrets that completely change our view of these giants of the past. So today, we will dive into the 10 biggest lies about dinosaurs that you probably still believe. And look, I guarantee that at least half of these revelations will make you question everything you have learned at school. But before we start this journey through time, let's understand one thing. Why do we believe so many lies about dinosaurs? The answer is fascinating. When the first fossils were discovered in the 19th century, scientists did not have the tools we have today. They looked at giant bones and imagined monstrous lizards. The very name dinosaur means terrible lizard, created in 1842 by Richard Owen. Since then, Hollywood, fiction books, and even outdated museums have perpetuated myths that modern science has dropped for decades. So, take a deep breath, because what you will find out today can change forever how you see these fascinating creatures. Starting with number 10, and this will hurt to those who grew up watching the Flintstones or believing in radical creationism. Humans never, under any circumstances, have lived with dinosaurs. Seriously, not even the most primitive cavemen came close to it. The last species of non-ovarian dinosaur died 66 million years ago, during what we call the extinction of the Paleogene Cretaceous. Meanwhile, our older ancestors, the first hominids like Sahelanthropus chidensis, emerged just 7 million years ago. This means that there is an absurd gap of almost 60 million years between the last dinosaur and the first human ancestor. For you to get an idea of how gigantic this temporal difference is, imagine the following. If the story of the Earth was compressed in a year, dinosaurs would have dominated the planet from March until early December, and humans would only appear in the last 20 minutes before midnight on December 31st. It is as if the extinction of dinosaurs were the beginning of a 2-hour movie, and humans only appear in the last 14 seconds before the final credits. But where did this confusion come from? Well, part of the guilt is misunderstood discoveries. In the early 20th century, some human footprints were found near footprints that seemed to be dinosaurs on the Paluxy Riverbed in Texas. Creationists clung to this as a coexistence proof, but later analyses showed that the alleged human footprints were actually eroded dinosaur footprints or even deliberate falsifications. Serious science has never found any evidence of coexistence between humans and non-aviaris dinosaurs. In number 9, let's talk about that fuel that moves our cars, and that causes so much environmental controversy. Many people believe that oil comes from the decomposed remains of buried dinosaurs, but this is completely false. Even this lie is so persistent that even the symbol of some old fuel companies showed dinosaurs. Sinclair Oil, for example, still uses a green brontosaur as a mascot to this day. The truth is that oil is mainly formed by microscopic marine microorganisms, such as phytoplankton, zooplankton, and algae, which have accumulated deep in the oceans over hundreds of millions of years. When these creatures died, they sank and were covered by sediments. Over millions of years, under intense pressure and heat, this organic matter has become what we know today as oil. The process is fascinating. Imagine trillions and trillions of microscopic organisms living, dying, and accumulating in the bottom of the sea during whole geological ages. Layer after layer, as a cosmic lasagna of microscopic death. The upper layer's pressure and the heat from the inside of the Earth literally cooked these remains until they turned into liquid hydrocarbons. So when you supply your car, you are using solar energy captured by microscopic creatures for hundreds of millions of years, not T-Rex juice. And why don't we have dinosaur oil? Simple. Most dinosaurs died on Earth, where their bodies were decomposed by bacteria or devoured by other animals. Even when they fossilized, the fossilization process transforms the remains into rock, not a liquid fuel. It is much more poetic to think that we are burning dinosaurs in our engine, but microscopic reality is equally fascinating. Now, in number 8, get ready because this is difficult to swallow to many people. Pterodactyls were not dinosaurs. That's right, those giant flying reptiles you have always associated with the dinosaurs, which appear in every self-respecting dinosaur movie, were actually pterosaurs, a completely different group of reptiles. Let's understand the difference. Dinosaurs are defined by specific characteristics of the hip and legs. They belonged to the Dinosauria group, which is divided into 2 large groups based on the hip structure: the Saurischia, lizard hip, and the Ornithischia, ave hip. The pterosaurs belonged to a completely different group called Pterosauria. It's like saying that bats are birds just because they both fly, or that dolphins are fish just because they live in the sea. The pterosaurs were, yes, relatives of the dinosaurs. Both were part of a larger group called Archosauria, which also includes modern crocodiles. But they were distant cousins, not brothers. They evolved to the flight completely independent of birds, developing wings made of stretched skin membranes along an extremely elongated finger, while birds developed wings with feathers. And the pterosaurs were absolutely fascinating creatures by themselves. The Quetzalcoatlus, for example, had a wingspan of up to 11 meters, larger than many small planes. Imagine this creature landing on your street. It would be the size of a giraffe with wings. Others, such as Nemacolopterus, were tiny, the size of a sparrow. They dominated the skies for over 150 million years, much longer than any bird has existed to this day. If you are enjoying finding out that everything you knew was wrong, it already leaves that naughty like and shares with that friend of yours who thinks the sabichel about dinosaurs. He will be shocked. Arriving at number 7, and this will change your perception of all the dinosaur movies you've ever watched. All those scary roars of T-Rex, the sharp scream of the velociraptors, the bromids of the giant herbivores. Pure cinematic fiction. The shocking truth is that we have no idea how dinosaurs sounded. Think about it. What fossilizes are bones, teeth, sometimes skin and feathers, but soft tissues such as vocal cords, larynx and other sound-producing organs. These disappear completely. It's like trying to find out what music someone was singing just looking at your skeleton. Impossible, right? The sounds we hear in movies are genius artistic creations, but totally invented. T-Rex iconic roar in Jurassic Park, for example, was created by sound designer Gary Rydstrom, mixing the sounds of a baby elephant, a tiger, an alligator, and believe it if he wants, an angry koala. The scream of the velociraptors was made with geese, sea turtles having sex, and horses reclosing. Seriously, the next time you watch the movie, remember, you're listening to sea turtles at heat, not dinosaurs. But what can science tell us about the possible sounds of dinosaurs? Well, Some hadrosaurid dinosaurs, such as Passerolophus, had elaborate ridges that functioned as resonance chambers. Computerized simulations suggest that they could produce deep sounds, such as prehistoric thrombones. Imagine a herd of these animals communicating through a forest with sounds that looked more like an orchestra of serious breath instruments. The theropods, like the T-Rex, probably do not roar like lions. His closest living relatives are crocodiles and birds. Crocodiles produce serious and vibrant, almost infrasonic sounds. Birds vary from melodious songs to horrible grass. The T-Rex could have produced something between a deep crocodile snoring and amplified grass. Or perhaps, like some modern birds, they communicate with visual dances and displays instead of sounds. Imagine a T-Rex doing a mating dance, terrifying and hilarious at the same time. In number 6, we will destroy another popular belief that Hollywood loves to perpetuate. Not all dinosaurs were monstrous giants. In fact, most were small, and when I say small, I mean really small. The Microraptor, discovered in China, was only 60 centimeters long and weighed less than 1 kilo. It was basically a roar with teeth and 4 wings. Yes, 4 wings. He had flight feathers in both the arms and legs. The Parvicor, whose name literally means small corridor, was the size of a small chicken. The Epidexipteryx was the size of a pigeon and had extravagant ornamental tail penalties, such as a prehistoric miniature peacock. But the smallness of smallness goes to Anchiornis, which weighed only 110 grams, less than a McDonald's hamburger. And don't think these were puppies. They were adult animals, totally developed, living their dinosaur lives in miniature, hunting insects and running away from larger predators. Why then do we always think of dinosaurs like giants? Preservation and discovery bias. Big bones fossilize better and are easier to find. A T-Rex-sized fossil draws more attention than one the size of a sparrow. In addition, small creatures were often completely devoured by predators, leaving nothing to fossilize. It is estimated that for each giant dinosaur we know, there were dozens of small species that we will never discover. The world of dinosaurs was more like our present world than we imagined, full of creatures of all sizes, with the little ones vastly surpassing the large in number and diversity. It was a complex ecosystem, not a world of monsters as the movies show. And speaking of size, number 5, we have a revelation about the famous T-Rex that will disappoint many fans. First, he was not the greatest predator of all time or from afar. This title probably belongs to Spinosaurus, which with its impressive 15 to 18 meters long and weight estimated up to 20 tons, was considerably larger than the T-Rex, which only reached 12 meters and 9 tons. But Spinosaurus was a bizarre creature that spent a lot of time in the water, hunting giant fish. Its adaptations included a huge dorsal candle, nostrils positioned at the top of the skull to breathe while swimming, and perfect conical teeth to grasp slippery prey. It was basically a giant bipedal crocodile with a candle on the back. Now, the part that will hurt from Jurassic Park fans. T-Rex probably couldn't run at 50 or 60 kph as in movies. Detailed biomechanical studies using computed simulations based on bone structure and muscle mass estimates suggest that their top speed was about 20 to 25 km/h. Why? Pure and simple physics. With 9 tons of weight, if the T-Rex tried to run very fast, the forces generated on its legs would be enough to break its own bones. It is the same principle that prevents elephants from jumping. Physics does not forgive when you are too large. In addition, T-Rex fossilized footprints have never shown high-speed running evidence, just fast walking. But make no mistake that it made the T-Rex less dangerous. With an estimated bite of 12,800 pounds by square inch, the strongest of any terrestrial animal that ever existed, it didn't need to be fast. Its 20 centimeters teeth could crush bones like cookies. He was an ambush predator, not a sprinter. Imagine a war tank with teeth. Slow, but when I reached you, game over. What's more, recent evidence suggests that the T-Rex was even more terrifying than we thought in other ways. His smell was comparable to that of modern vultures and could sniff carcasses miles away. His vision was binocular and extremely keen, better than eagles. And studies of the inner ear suggest that it could detect low-frequency sounds, such as large prey steps at a distance. It was a perfectly adapted killing machine, but slower than Hollywood would like. Time for one more break for that naughty interaction. If you are shocked by these revelations, imagine what's coming. We still have 4 monumental lies to destroy. Then you subscribe to the channel, activate the bell and comment below which revelation surprised you the most so far. And if you know someone who loves dinosaurs, share this video with it. Let's educate the whole of Brazil about the truth of the dinos. Continuing with number 4, and this is especially painful for Jurassic Park fans. The velociraptors were nothing like the scale and giant monsters of the movies. It prepares the heart, because reality is both disappointing and fascinating. The real velociraptor, the Mongoliensis velociraptor discovered in Mongolia, was about 60 centimeters in the hip. That was right, arrived at his knee. It weighed between 15 and 20 pounds, more or less like a border collie. Its total length, including the tail, was about 2 meters, but half of that was just tail. In terms of body volume, think of a large and very nervous turkey. But the most shocking part, they were completely covered with feathers. Not some decorative penalties here and there, but a full coverage of penalties, including flight sentences in the arms that formed small wings. They could not fly, but these wings probably helped in racing and jumping, and may be used on mating displays. Exceptionally preserved fossils from China show the marks of insertion of the penalties in the bones, proving definitely that these animals were emplummated. Some fossils even preserved the microscopic structure of the feathers, allowing scientists to determine their possible colors. Many abductors were believed to have sentences with complex patterns, perhaps striped or stained, such as modern birds of prey. But then why are Jurassic Park's velociraptors so big and without feathers? Because they are not velociraptors. The animals portrayed in the film are based on Deinonychus, a larger relative that was about 3 meters and weighed up to 100 pounds. Even so, Deinonychus also had feathers. Michael Crichton, author of the book, knew this, but thought Velociraptor sounded cooler than Deinonychus. And Steven Spielberg? Well, he thought that dinosaurs with feathers would not be scary enough. Ironically, a real velociraptor would be much more terrifying in certain ways. Evidence suggests that they hunted in coordinated groups using complex strategies. They had a sickle-shaped claw on the second toe that kept high from the floor to keep it sharp. Biomechanical studies show that this claw was used to drill and tear, not to slice as it was thought. Imagine a bunch of intelligent murderers with 7 centimeters claws, covered with feathers and working as a team. I would rather find the movie monster. In number 3, let's talk about something that revolutionized our understanding of dinosaurs: body temperature. For decades, since the first discoveries in the 19th century, it was believed that all dinosaurs were ectothermic, or cold-blooded, such as giant lizards and crocodiles. This view painted them as slow and lethargic creatures that needed the sun to warm up before they became active. But current evidence tells a completely different story. Many dinosaurs were endothermic, or warm-blooded, actively regulating their body temperature as modern mammals and birds. How do we know that? Several lines of evidence converge on this conclusion. First, the bone microstructure. When you cut a dinosaur bone and examine it under microscope, you find rapid and continuous growth patterns, with many blood vessel channels, identical to those found in modern mammals and birds, not in cold-blooded reptiles. Ectothermic reptiles show seasonal growth rings such as tree rings because they grow slower in winter. Second, the posture and anatomy. Dinosaurs kept their legs directly under the body, not sprawled to the sides like lizards. This erect posture requires much more energy to maintain and is characteristic of endothermic animals. In addition, many dinosaurs show evidence of highly active lifestyles that would be impossible for cold-blooded animals. Third, the geographical distribution. We found dinosaur fossils in regions that were polar during the Mesozoic, such as Alaska and Antarctica. Even considering that the climate was warmer at that time, these regions still experienced months of darkness in winter. Ectothermic animals could not survive under these conditions. Fourth, the fossilized predator proportions suggest endothermic metabolism. In modern ecosystems, warm-blooded predators need much more prey than cold-blooded predators because they spend more energy. The proportions found in fossil sites correspond to what we would expect from endothermic predators. But here is the most fascinating. It was probably not a simple hot blood or cold blood. Many scientists now believe in a model called mesothermia, something between the two extremes. Large dinosaurs like sauropods could use gigantothermia, keeping temperature stable simply because they are huge, such as elephant butt to the extreme. Smaller and more active dinosaurs probably had more like bird metabolism. This discovery changes everything. Hot-blooded dinosaurs could be active day and night, in all seasons, hunting more efficiently, growing faster, and mastering ecosystems in cold-blooded reptiles could never. This explains how they dominated Earth for 165 million years. We have reached number 2, and this is one of the most complex and fascinating revelations. The extinction of dinosaurs was not just caused by a meteor. Like that dramatic scene, you imagine a giant space rock ending everything instantly. The reality is much more complex, subtle, and terrifying. Yes, the impact of Chicxulub 66 million years ago was absolutely catastrophic. The asteroid, about 10 kilometers in diameter, hit the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico with the force of billions of atomic bombs. Impact created an 180-kilometer diameter crater, threw trillion tons of sprayed rock into the atmosphere, and generated tsunamis of hundreds of meters high that swept whole continents. But here is the detail. This was just the final blow to dinosaurs that were already in trouble. It is as if the asteroid were the last nail in the casket of already dying creatures. Let's understand the full scenario. First, volcanism. In the Deccan Traps, India, supervulgar were erupted. There were hundreds of thousands of years before the impact. These were not normal eruptions. They were lava flows that covered areas the size of entire countries. Eruptions released absurd amounts of sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, causing global acid rain and dramatic climate change. Imagine the sky constantly cloudy by volcanic ash, plants dying for lack of sunlight, and hungry herbivores followed by carnivores. Second, changes in sea level. During the end of the Cretaceous, ocean levels were falling dramatically. Shallow seas that covered large portions of the continents were drying, destroying coastal marine ecosystems and changing climate patterns. Habitats that existed millions of years ago disappeared over thousands of years. Third, and this is fascinating, the diversity of dinosaurs was already declining millions of years before the impact. Fossil studies show that the number of species was decreasing, especially among giant herbivores. It was as if dinosaurs were losing their ability to adapt to environmental changes. When the asteroid finally hit, it was the perfect disaster over disasters. Impact created what we call impact winter. Dust and soot in the atmosphere blocked sunlight for months or years. The temperatures plummeted. Photosynthesis stopped. The food chains collapsed, starting with the plants. But the frightening. The impact also caused the opposite soon after. When the dust settled, the released CO2 created an extreme greenhouse effect. Impact winter survivors were then baked on an overheated planet. It was a deadly climate roller coaster. This is why some animals have survived and others not. Small mammals could hide in burrows. Crocodiles could get numb for months. Small birds needed less food. But large dinosaurs? No chance. They needed tons of food daily and had nowhere to hide. Enjoying these revelations that destroy your childhood? So you already know. Like Inscription and Bell. And prepares the heart because the last revelation is the most amazing of all. And finally, number 1, the biggest lie of all that will transform as you see the world around you. All dinosaurs have been extinct. Take a deep breath. Look through your window now. Did you see a bird? A pigeon? A sparrow? A good gone? Congratulations, you just saw a living dinosaur. This is not force of expression or scientific exaggeration. Birds are not just descendants of dinosaurs, they are dinosaurs. Literally. In modern scientific classification, birds is a subgroup within Dinosauria, specifically within Manicracta theropods. It's like saying that humans are mammals. We don't go down from mammals, we are mammals. Similarly, birds do not descend from dinosaurs, they are dinosaurs. How did we come to this mind-blowing conclusion? The evidence is overwhelming. First, the anatomy. Birds share over 100 anatomical features with theropod dinosaurs that are not found in any other group of animals. The lucky bone you break in the roasted chicken, exclusive of theropod and poultry dinosaurs. The ankle structure, the hollow bones, the position of the fingers, the shape of the pelvis, all identical. Second, the fossil discoveries. In the last 30 years, we have discovered dozens of dinosaur species with evolutionary stages between classic and modern birds. Archaeopteryx, discovered in 1861, was just the beginning. Now we have the four-wings Microraptor, the preserved colourful Anchiornis, Sinosauropteryx with primitive feathers. But the definitive evidence came from molecular biology and embryology. When scientists study the embryonic development of chickens, They can activate ancestral genes and make embryos develop teeth, long tails and wings, dinosaur characteristics. It is as if the genetic code of the dinosaurs is still there, just off. This means that when you eat chicken, it's literally eating dinosaur. When a pigeon poop in his car, it is Jurassic revenge of 66 million years old, the singing of the rooster at dawn. It is the roar of a theropod modified for millions of years of evolution. The implications are deep. Dinosaurs were not extinct. They reinvented themselves. Today there are about 10,000 lively dinosaur species, birds, compared to only about 5,400 species of mammals. In terms of species diversity, dinosaurs still dominate terrestrial vertebrates, and birds show fascinatingly similar behaviors to those we infer extinct dinosaurs. Many modern birds hunt in flocks, as evidence suggests that velociraptors did. Birds like cachuar have reminiscent lethal claws of dromosaurid dinosaurs. The behavior of nesting, parental care, elaborate mating dances, all probably existed in non-Avares dinosaurs as well. But here is the coolest part. This means that dinosaurs have found the definitive formula for survival. They have existed over 230 million years ago and survived the worst mass extinction in Earth history. They changed, adapted, diminished in size, developed more efficient flight, but still here. While we humans have existed a mere 300,000 years ago, dinosaurs continue to dominate the skies, from rainforests to poles. The next time you come a hummingbird floating in the air, remember, you are seeing a miniaturized theropod dinosaur performing a feat of biological engineering that no pterosaur has ever achieved. When an eagle dives at 300 km/h behind a prey, it is a raptor doing what raptors always did. When penguins fly underwater, they are dinosaurs who exchanged the air by the sea. And this leads us to an absolutely fascinating final reflection. If we were so wrong about so many things related to dinosaurs, what else will science still reveal? Each fossil discovered, every new analysis technology, each genetic study brings us closer to the truth about these amazing creatures. In the last 30 years, we found that dinosaurs had penalties, were warm, blooded, took care of their puppies, lived in complex societies, and were never really extinct. What will we discover in the next 30 years? Exact colors, real sounds, behaviors we haven't even imagined, and the coolest of all this. Science is not afraid to admit when it was wrong. Each rewritten textbook, each updated museum, each corrected documentary is a victory for knowledge about the myth. This is how we evolve our understanding of the world, constantly questioning, relentlessly researching, and always seeking the truth, even if it destroys our favorite childhood films. Think about it. We live in an incredible time where we can look at a sparrow in the electricity thread and know that we are seeing the result of 230 million years of dinosaurian evolution, where we can use computed tomography to see inside fossilized eggs, where we can extract proteins from T-Rex bones and compare them with modern chickens, where each yard has dinosaurs and each chicken egg is a dinosaur egg. If this video exploded your mind as much as it exploded mine when I researched it all, you know what to do. Give that like supim, subscribes to the channel, and especially activates the bell, because next week we will reveal the 10 biggest lies about the space you learned at school. Spoiler, Pluto is just the beginning of the bullshit. And now I want to know about you. Which of these revelations surprised you the most? Have you already suspected any? Is there any other dinosaur myth that you want us to destroy in a next video? Comment down, because I read everything and love to interact with you. Oh, and share this video with your cousin who swears that he knows everything about dinosaurs, with his biology teacher, with anyone who needs to have his mind exploded today. Let's spread real scientific knowledge and end these myths once and for all. Until next time, and remember, every time you come a pigeon, reverence. You are in the presence of Jurassic royalty. They survived the asteroid, the ice ages, and now they live stealing their snack. If this is not evolutionary success, I don't know what it is. He spoke